majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
He should be treated the same, blacklisted.
These are his beliefs, and he's welcome to them. I don't have to believe him.
Right. The woke mob tries to cancel an NFL player over his controversial speech. CNN exposes violence from pro-Israel protesters at UCLA. Congress gets ratchet, and a TikToker defends squatting? All this and so much more is coming up on today's episode of Brad vs. Everyone, my series where I take on the craziest ideas from our politics and from across the internet from a center-right, independent perspective. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing and sticking around, and if you're a returning viewer, you know what I'm gonna say. Don't forget to hit that like button, and do comment with your thoughts. I do read the comments, and I pick a few to respond to in every episode. Alright guys, so up first, we're gonna talk about the story that is dividing the internet. The NFL player Harrison Butker, who is a player for the Chiefs, he's a kicker. Look at me with my football knowledge. Just kidding, there is no football knowledge. Spoke at the commencement ceremony for a small Catholic college and touched on some controversial issues from gender to COVID to abortion to LGBT, and then all hell broke loose. So here's how we're going to unpack this issue. First, we're going to take a look at some highlights from his speech and just talk about them on their own merits. Then, we'll get into the backlash to his speech, which, frankly, was pretty unhinged, and we'll break all that down as well. First, though, here's a compilation of the most controversial things that he said in the commencement address.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. By making it to this moment through all the adversity thrown your way from COVID, I hope you learned the important lessons that suffering in this life is only temporary. As a group, you witnessed firsthand how bad leaders who don't stay in their lane can have a negative impact on society. While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as the biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. I am certain the reporters at the AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify Him.
So personally, there's things in there that I agree with, things in there that I'm kind of indifferent to, and things in there I disagree with. I definitely agree with his take on COVID and how our leaders totally failed us, and many went full authoritarian during that time. I also do agree with his criticisms of President Biden and his hypocrisy. I also listened to the full speech this morning, not just the highlights, and there's a lot in there that I'm honestly just kind of indifferent to. Like, he spends a lot of time talking about his criticisms of the Catholic Church as an institution, and while I did go to a Catholic church growing up for part of my childhood, I'm not a Catholic. I don't really know much about that, and I don't have much vested interest in it. So I'm kind of indifferent to that portion of it. Of course, there were some things in there that I pretty strongly disagree with. He called LGBT pride sinful and surely implied that he thinks being gay or lesbian is a sin, and I totally reject that. I get that it's the official Catholic doctrine, and he's entitled to his beliefs in his religion, but I personally don't believe that. In fact, I think that if there is a God, this is the way he made me. To say it's sinful would be like saying that it's sinful to be blind when people are born blind. It just makes no sense, and love that harms no one but enriches our lives in beautiful ways can't possibly be a sinful or bad thing, in my view. I also think there's a lot of double standards, biblical misinterpretation, and cherry picking that goes on when it comes to the religious condemnation of homosexuality. But he's entitled to his view, and frankly, it's not a new one or a particularly outlandish or outrageous one. I also disagreed with something else he said, which is when he referenced legislation jailing people for believing in the Bible. That's just factually incorrect. I covered the legislation he's talking about, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, at great length on this show, and I did strongly oppose it. That said, it doesn't involve criminal law or criminal penalties, and nobody is going to be put in jail simply for saying things that are in the Bible. That's incorrect objectively. I can also see why many women did not like his comments about women and their role as homemakers and in the family. The truth is, it's not financially viable for most people to just be stay-at-home moms, even if they wanted to in the modern economy, because most of them aren't going to be married to multi-millionaire NFL players. And I do believe that many women can have impactful and powerful lives with a career like, say, as a doctor, healing the sick and saving lives, even if they never get married and never have children. That said, I do think modern feminist culture almost stigmatizes women who choose to be stay-at-home moms or choose to dedicate their lives to motherhood, and I think that's wrong. I do think that's right for some, and I do think that's a laudable and totally appropriate and worthy way to spend one's life. But it's definitely not for everyone, and I can see why his approach rubbed some women the wrong way. Even though some people are exaggerating what he said and made it out to be worse than I think it actually was. Ultimately, though, this all really shouldn't be that big a story. Athlete says his opinion, and some people disagree. For me, it should stop there. But it didn't. Instead, we've seen an incredibly unhinged backlash that we're going to break down.
Harrison Butker isn't nearly the talent or the star Colin Kaepernick once was, but he should be treated the same. Blacklisted. And this time it would actually be justified, and do not at me on that. Contrary to what some may think, I actually strongly believe in free speech and the right to hold opinions that are different from my own. I also believe there are consequences for speaking out, but what I really believe is there is a big difference between an opinion and dehumanizing hateful speech.
For one, the NFL put out a statement formally condemning him. Harrison Butker gave a speech in his personal capacity. Jonathan Bean, the NFL's senior vice president and chief DEI officer, said, "His views are not those of the NFL as an organization. The NFL is steadfast in our commitment to inclusion, which only makes our league stronger." Why was this necessary? Nobody in their right mind would have ever assumed that the personal opinions expressed by one random NFL player at a private event are somehow speaking on behalf of the NFL as an organization. And for them to come out and condemn him just for giving his opinion when they don't really do that all the time when other players say their opinions seems to me to be way out of line. And you all know that if he had said pro-Biden, pro-abortion, pro-feminism things, they would not have condemned him. So to me, that was wildly inappropriate and just showed what a hot mess the NFL is as an institution these days. But what was even more crazy was that the official Twitter account for the city of Kansas City put out a tweet distancing itself and implicitly condemning him. Now, in a good move, they've deleted that tweet and apologized for it, but that's still pretty freaking crazy. The government of a city should not be condemning people for their views. Thankfully, not everybody went crazy over his remarks. In fact, he got support from an unlikely corner, Whoopi Goldberg of The View. Take a listen to this.
So the NFL released a statement that he gave this speech in his personal capacity, and the NFL does not share his views. So, listen, I like when people say what they need to say. He's at a Catholic college.
Yeah.
He's a staunch Catholic. These are his beliefs, and he's welcome to them. I don't have to believe them.
Right.
I don't have to accept them. The ladies that were sitting in that audience do not have to accept them. The same way we want respect when Colin Kaepernick takes a knee.
Right.
We want to give respect to people whose ideas are different from ours.
Now, I often criticize Whoopi, but I gotta say, bravo to her on this one. She has a good point about Colin Kaepernick, and I feel like a lot of the outraged liberals haven't really thought this one through. If people are canceled for expressing their personal opinions, that's gonna apply to the people they like and people who express opinions they agree with too. You can't really have these things just one way. But of course, some ignorant people are trying to demand exactly that. More than 181,000 people have signed a change.org petition demanding that the Kansas City Chiefs fire Harrison Butker for his discriminatory remarks. The harmful remarks made by Harrison Butker, kicker of the Kansas City Chiefs, during his commencement address at Benedictine College were unacceptable. His comments were sexist, homophobic, anti-trans, anti-abortion, and racist. These dehumanizing remarks against LGBTQ+ individuals, attacks on abortion rights, and racial discrimination perpetuate division and undermine human rights. I'm not even sure what they're popping off about race, because his speech really didn't touch on that. I think they just can't keep their woke buzzwords straight, so they just copy and paste the template in. We demand accountability from our sports figures, who should be role models promoting respect for all people, regardless of their race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. We call upon the Kansas City Chiefs management to dismiss Harrison Butker immediately for his inappropriate conduct. Oh, off with this. This is insane, illiberal, and un-American. People have a right to say their opinion in a private capacity, and they shouldn't be fired from jobs that have nothing to do with it for expressing honestly somewhat mainstream points of view about topics that are controversial that some people don't like. There's also an insane double standard here. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of NFL players, active NFL players and former NFL players, but also active NFL players who've been charged with everything from animal abuse to domestic abuse to DUI. But a guy dropping some hot takes at a commencement speech should get him tossed out of the league. Come on, people. That's ridiculous. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I want to live in an America where people can speak their mind without facing professional consequences unless they've done something in the workplace or something that will affect their job. Live and let live. Let people say their opinions, speak their piece, and then, you know what, disagree with them, debate them, even call them names if you want, but stop this endless cancel culture outrage mob. I feel like a lot of Americans just need to repeat to themselves a couple times every day. They're entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. Because we've got to purge this urge that we seem to increasingly have as a society of wanting to cancel or destroy people who disagree with us rather than explaining why they're wrong or arguing with them on the merits. This is a sickness plaguing our culture, and it has me far more concerned than some NFL players saying some things I disagree with. That's just my take, honestly. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I do want to hear from you guys on this, especially my Catholic listeners and followers. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. Up next, we've got to talk more about the ongoing anti-Israel protests, because CNN just revealed some disturbing stuff from the events that took place at UCLA. You guys have heard me criticize the anti-Israel protesters a lot, and for good reason. They've gone far beyond free speech, and in my view, these protests are just distracting from their cause and sabotaging it at this point. But the pro-Israel side has done some messed up stuff as well. Let's take a look at this CNN expose.
This is the worst violence of any of the ongoing college protests. UCLA, where counter-protesters used sticks and boards against a pro-Palestine encampment. It was more than 3 hours of unrestrained violence the night of April 30th that led to injuries and bloody scenes as campus security and law enforcement allowed it to continue.
They were there spraying, they were there pulling barriers, and they were there to very clearly do some serious harm to the students who were on campus.
When you look at the counter-protesters, How many of them were UCLA students?
I would say basically none of them.
Yeah, this is messed up and not okay. No matter how much you hate the message being expressed by anti-Israel protesters, you do not have the right to assault them or shoot fireworks at them. And the fact that the police stood by and watched this happen and didn't arrest and intervene in this chaos is incredibly disturbing and unacceptable. Both sides really need to get back to the basics. You have a right to speak your mind and say your piece, even about incredibly controversial and upsetting topics. But you don't have a right to vandalize property, take over property that doesn't belong to you, or attack and assault people who are protesting even in ways that are unlawful or that you don't agree with. Everybody involved needs to get a grip, but this behavior from the pro-Israel side is totally disgusting and unacceptable. Up next, it's time for the Real Housewives of Capitol Hill, because we've got to watch some footage from Congress that's going viral right now that shows just how ratchet some members of Congress truly are. During a supposedly serious hearing by the Oversight Committee, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a goofy Republican, and Democrat Representatives AOC and Jasmine Crockett got into an unhinged fight. Let's take a look.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
order.
please regain
Order.
order of your committee.
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play. with
Baby
me.
girl?
We're gonna,
I don't
we
think
are going to move, and we're going to take your words down.
I
Thank you very
second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Okay. Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
should apologize.
recognizes
No.
Mr.
She
Perry.
should apologize.
Okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not.
out of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd
the.
like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
words.
I would like
Order.
to strike
The
those
lady's
as well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the words.
There's another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's
control.
the correct apology. Ms. Green, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll
All
strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection. Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
Chair recognizes 21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Who's
It's me.
Ms. Crockett?
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold on.
I'm
parliament.
trying to find clarification on what quality.
Chairman, motion to strike
I had no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just
You just voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you
You
don't want to
just
talk about
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get
Okay.
clarification.
Look at calm down.
No, because this
I
is
would
what
like to
y'all
get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying
Hey,
to
Ms.
get
Crockett,
clarification.
you're not
You don't wanna
recognized.
play
Ms.
games.
I can't hear
Crockett.
you with your
And
yelling.
You don't want
Calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can
no,
you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
Chairman, Mr.
Order.
Chairman.
All right,
Sorry.
Chair.
I don't know why
Okay.
you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes.
These people are clowns, man. All of them. Marjorie Taylor Greene, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, clowns. They're literally behaving themselves like equivalent to a 7th grade food fight. And this is the halls of Congress, a powerful House committee. God help us. This is this absolute state of the United States federal government, folks, on full display. If you think these people can be trusted with more of our money and to solve our problems with more power and authority, you played yourself, babe. You absolutely played yourself. But what do you guys think? What did you make of that shit show? Let me know in the comments below, and please send help. I'm suffering. I'm struggling. I need the weekend to come. I'm struggling today with all this nonsense. My brain cells are dying off. I'm running out. Up next, it's time for Brad versus TikTok, my segment where I take on the craziest ideas from the Clock app.
Pronoun of the day is slugs.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. And now let's hear one girl explain why squatting, you know, where you just take over people's property and then claim you have a right to it, is actually well and good.
Should squatters have rights? Not as in human rights, but squatting rights. It's been conflated a lot today, so I just wanted to make that clear.
I think we should abolish private property.
Really?
Yes.
You don't think anyone should be able to own property?
Oh?
I think that as things exist, squatting should be allowed because people own property. Property shouldn't just sit empty, and if they are, they should be seized by people who need them. We should work towards a world where people can have housing that's not based on how much money you have or how much access to capital or resources. It should just be a basic resource. And so if squatting is a means to like obtain that necessary right, that like intrinsic dignified right, which is not a human right, but access to housing is. And squatting as something that's illegal, I think the legality of it should be usurped for the necessity of access to material resources like housing.
So this video comes from a YouTube channel called American Interviews, who I will link in the description. Go check them out and support his work. It's interesting stuff. Baby girl, your math is not mathing today. How's she gonna feel if we squat and take over her car and her apartment? Oops, babe, it's mine now. Like, have they really not thought this through? Do they not understand how important respecting private property is to a properly functioning economy? The absolute chaos that takes over when people can just take other people's stuff and claim they have rights to it is so obvious and so clear cut and happens everywhere. We're seeing it now across the country in these cities that have these insane squatters' rights policies. It is nuts. And do they never think of the second order consequences or the third order consequences of this stuff? I mean, imagine that you're a developer or you're a potential landlord investing in a new property. Why would you ever expend the money and all the work and time to build new housing and bring more options to the market when people can just freaking occupy it and claim it's theirs and steal it? You wouldn't. So you'll end up with way less housing and a worse housing shortage that you were trying to solve in the first place. If that's not progressive policy in a freaking nutshell, folks, I don't know what is. Let me know what you think in the comments of that interesting video. Now, before we go, I'll read a couple of your comments that you left on the last episode. One person says, I have no issue with people protesting for or against anything. It's just when people get violent, stupid about what you're doing, and go to private homes of others, even if said home is owned by someone who disagrees with you, that's when I have a problem. These people have lost the plot of what they're doing. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm a hardcore free speech guy. I'll defend your right to speak about almost anything. But these actions cross the line and need to be called out. Another person said, your videos are the best part of my day. You usually post about the time I get home from work. Perfect way to unwind. That's so awesome. I'm so glad I can do that for you and hopefully entertain you, make you laugh, but maybe inform you a little bit while we're at it. Another person says, why is the character PC Principal in South Park so realistic in 2024? These people crying for compassion sure aren't compassionate. That was such a great character, and you're absolutely right. He is like real life now, honestly. Another person said, Brad, I love the way you put your hand on your cheek in shock when you react to some of these TikToks because same. And also Wi-Fi password community is gold. Love your videos. So the thing is, guys, I have seen all of these videos before because I compile, an outline of the episode that I'm going to do and I research and find the videos. My reactions are genuine. I'm not like faking them because this shit is still so crazy that the second or third time I'm seeing or hearing it, I'm still like, a little part of me is still kind of stunned that this is real life. that this is the absolute state of America in 2024. But I'm glad it's at least entertaining for you. Up next, someone says, as much as I enjoy watching Brad Loose Brain Cells reacting to brain rot TikToks, I would like to see more about interesting economic topics on the gold standard, flat rate versus progressive tax, universal healthcare income, BRICS, cryptocurrency, etc. But I can respect the capitalist hustle, and unfortunately, reacting to woke content does generate more views and more money. Yeah, look, if I could just have things my way, I probably would spend more of my time just talking about serious, dry stuff, but I have to strike that balance between what people will find entertaining and what they'll click on, and then what's substantive and what I'm interested in. So I'm trying to do a little bit of both on this Brad vs. Everyone show, so hopefully we can get into all those topics as they do come up in the news, but also have fun and lose some brain cells reacting to brain rot bullshit. All right, everybody, that is it for this episode of Brad vs. Everyone, my new series. Don't forget to subscribe and stick around if you're new here, and please do consider hitting that like button and commenting with your thoughts. I do read the comments, and I want to hear from you. With that, we'll talk again on Monday.